place not to be tomorrow, so. And there was more, which is very, so,
Sure.
yeah. But you guys have to try those blueberries, is that what?
Appleton.
Appleton.
Yeah, I've run into Appleton.
Yeah,
Kind of a shoulder.
I really like Appleton.
I like Appleton, and Milwaukee is just super fast.
Yeah, Milwaukee's not that far either.
Yeah, I went to Lawrence for undergrad, so I took Appleton quite a bit.
Sure. The big one that I really like.
Okay, mics are on. I'm just gonna testing 1, 2, 3, testing.
Not bad, but
I mean, I just did the drive, but I wouldn't want
All right. We'll call the meeting to order of the Plan Commission, November 25th, 2025, 6 PM, City Hall Council Chambers. Can I have a roll call, please?
All right, Burgess,
Here?
Cannon. Here. Kubiak,
Here.
okay. Principal
Here.
and Reeves.
Here.
All right, we have quorum.
Thank you. General public comments and public appearances, I have one. Dan, I'll save yours till the item, is that okay? All right, so we will move on to number 4, which is approval of the minutes from September 30th, 2025.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from September 30th, 2025.
I'll second that. Motion is second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. On to number 5, which is a comprehensive plan update, round 2 elements review for the housing, mobility, and economic development. Review updated round 1 elements, follow up to public meeting and survey. Morgan, you can come up to the mic there.
I'm gonna tilt it a little bit. Okay, thank you guys. I will try to keep it as brief as possible. But yeah, I did just get to the call, but yeah, my name is Morgan Shapiro. I'm a planner with MSA. My colleague, Rod, who was here at the last meeting, accepted a job with the DOA, which we're very happy for him for. So he is not at MSA any longer, but wishing him best of luck, and I'm very happy to be taking over this project. So thankfully, I think we were at kind of a good spot to do this transition. So basically, what I have for you today is I accidentally said first set of elements in my little memo. There's actually the second set of elements for us to kind of talk about, touch on a bit with the presentation. And then in the packet itself, not in my presentation, I provided an InDesign draft of kind of what the final visual document will look like. And I would love your comments, feedback, things you like or don't like. Each community has a little different feeling, but we try to keep it like really graphic, visually accessible, easily understandable by the community, generally speaking. So, yeah, I will kind of go into our presentation now. And everyone has it in front of them. So, yeah, currently we are just right about at the middle stage of this process. We had a public input meeting in October, and it was great. I thought we got really good feedback from the community members that attended, and we were able to get a little over 100 survey responses as well, which I thought was really promising. And yeah, I'll kind of start off and touch a little bit on what kind of public engagement responses we got. So I would say that there was a very mixed response for why people live in the city. Their proximity to work, the character of the community, being close to their family, that seemed to be the biggest reason. And then retail, school, recreation opportunities were probably like considered the lowest. I have a table here that if we're all looking at the same thing, the orange table. One thing I thought that was really interesting about this was asking community members to kind of rate the quality of the housing options on the market in the city. And when we asked about ownership, cost, supply, and quality, we got generally more positive reviews, obviously not entirely, but if you compare that to the rental housing cost, supply, and quality, that was all rated quite a bit lower in quality. And kind of moving on and asking people what the most important investments are for the future, public safety, street repair and maintenance, and economic development were at the top of the list for additional investment. And when we asked about housing specifically and basically gave a list of different types of ways to kind of increase density, you'll see that small lot, single family homes were by and large the most supportive from the community members. and definitely a lot less so on the other options that we presented, which, you know, it's a small community, and so we understand why people would feel that way, but it's good to kind of show everyone what kind of options there are, you know, not just big apartment buildings, but there's other ways to kind of gradually create additional housing opportunities in a community. So I would say kind of key takeaways, there was definitely concerns about housing availability. The data also showed pretty low vacancy rates in the city for both rental and ownership opportunities. So that kind of tracks with what we're seeing data-wise. Downtown revitalization was a huge.
She have a question or should talk?
Oh, it looks like.
It's echoing.
Okay, sorry, I'll just keep going.
Yep, sorry.
Wanting to see infrastructure improvements, wanting to see better employment opportunities, and then the themes of like what people really felt strongly about as far as the community, what makes Berlin great is the character, the fact that there is a downtown there that, you know, has active establishments already there. You know, making sure that infrastructure and accessibility is a prioritized. Youth and family support was a huge thing that we heard a lot about, especially at the actual public input meeting. We heard a lot about it, especially opportunities for daycare, and then talking to school districts about being able to create opportunities for the teachers in the district to actually live in the city was a big thing we heard. And then great public spaces and events was something that we heard really was key to why people love to live here. And then opportunities to partner and collaborate between the city and other organizations like economic development organizations, kind of regional ones. That was something that we heard, you know, very strong feelings about pursuing. So kind of moving on into housing, unless, should I pause any thoughts on public engagement? Okay, so I will continue. And we'll talk about housing. So I have the full is in the packets that was published. I would love, you know, I know that this is a ton of information to talk about right now, so I'm not gonna walk you through every single potential strategy or action right now, but I would love if you all could like take a look through the list and be like, okay, like what makes sense? What feels like it needs tweaking, and I have my email, and I would love for comments by December 16th or so would be ideal, to be able to kind of keep on our internal timeline for the plan. But if that seems not doable, we can have a discussion, talk to Tim, and Tim and I can make a plan. So supporting a range of housing options to retain and attract city residents. That was important based on the conversations that we had, and also making sure that, you know, if new housing is built, that it's done carefully so that it's sustainable into the future, as in, you know, accommodations for changes to traffic flow, changes to stormwater management, water, that kind of thing. And being thoughtful about density, residential density, that's definitely something I'm looking for your feedback on today, if you have any. Right now, and kind of basing on our conversations about potentially adding more density in the city, feels like the downtown area would kind of be the main place where that would make sense right now. But if you have feelings about like its appropriateness or inappropriateness in specific areas, that would be really important, especially moving into the future land use map, which is the next portion of this planning process. And I'll move on to develop and maintain quality housing to ensure safe and healthy neighborhood for all city residents. So one thing that we noticed is that a lot of the housing stock in the city is older. And so that brings a set of challenges that is good to plan for the next 20 years, as far as maintenance, upkeep, and making sure that the homes are safe to live in. And just some data, you can see overwhelmingly in the data that it's primarily single unit detached housing, and then there's a little bit of other types of units kind of sprinkled in, but that is the predominant housing option in the city. And you can see that the median home value is actually slightly lower than Green Lake and Washara County, which is interesting. It might be due to the general age of the housing stock, which puts it on the lower end compared to maybe other communities in Green Lake County have built more housing more recently, and that's upping the median value. But that's just my speculation. So economic developments, that we heard a lot of positive feedback about economic development, wanting to attract, retain businesses, and employment opportunities, commercial, industrial, and then also potentially like the recreational sector. And one thing that we tried to focus on is, okay, what kind of recommendations make sense? What kind of funding is available? What kind of programming would allow for additional opportunities to be approached? And of course, making sure that everything is financially sound. That's a huge thing, especially like we hear from a lot of communities concerns about tax increment financing. And there's lots of ways that we've moved through, you know, especially the 2008, 2009 crisis, and being able to make smarter choices for communities to make sure that financial investments are sound, and that we get to see local businesses thrive, which is awesome. And prioritize the downtown area as a pedestrian-friendly and attentive center of economic activity designed to meet community needs. And what that means is, you know, being able to go downtown to have your kind of retail and recreational kind of needs met. And I think that there's already a lot of key pieces in place, and a lot of it is a matter of, you know, businesses working together is a huge part of it, and then being able to just support pedestrian-oriented development on that downtown area and kind of maintaining the quality and attractiveness of it and promoting events, that sort of thing. Okay, and then moving on to look at the data, you can see that this is kind of a little cool tool that the US Census has. So it shows us how many people are commuting in for work, how many are commuting out for work, and how many live and work in Berlin, which is really cool. And so you can see that right now, most of the people that live here are commuting elsewhere for work, and that kind of matches what our survey said as well. But there isn't a lot of people that are commuting in for work as well. It could be, you know, the two biggest employment, you know, sectors in the city right now are the school district and the Walmart. So it could be that that's where the people are traveling in from to work. But yeah, I mean, this is actually, you know, it's not like surprising, it's relatively common in Wisconsin for, you know, this size of a community. So it's not like it is what it is, but I think being able to have people be able to work where they live if they want to is a great part of kind of planning for the future and being able to attract new residents. And I have a little bit more on the survey on economic development. We'll say that of the people that we surveyed, people are going downtown quite a bit. Most people said they come 1 to 2 times per week, which is, I think, a great number. And that shows like a strong desire to support local downtown businesses. So that is really promising, and asking people what would they like to see more of. More events and programming. That was the #1 answer by far. And then following that would be gathering spaces and street amenities. So these are kind of concrete things that you can look towards to the future in assisting being able to kind of add opportunities for retail and attractions in the downtown area. And moving into the last section that we brought you some content on, that's mobility and transportation. We see well-integrated multimodal transportation systems as the kind of future of healthy, safe transportation in a community. What that looks like for every community is different, but being able to have the option to get around safely if you are a person that doesn't own a car, if you're elderly or for some reason aren't able to drive, like being able to feel like, okay, I can safely cross the street or my kids can safely go to school is important. And then also being able to prioritize maintaining roads, which is a comment we heard a lot, is about road maintenance. That was like the number one investment thing. So it's kind of like a balance between the different needs of the community. Being able to do a compatible system for the future land use plan is important as well. So, you know, if in the future there are changes to like the layout or the grid of the city, making sure that you're kind of carefully planning transit towards the future so that, you know, it's going to be able to be maintained fiscally and also just like structurally speaking. We have a little transportation map, which is actually really hard to see in the printout, so I apologize for that. Hopefully in the packet is more easily accessible. But yeah, we did look at like a lot of the traffic counts around the city. And one thing I'll say that I heard a lot is feeling like the downtown gets all the transportation, like people are passing straight through the downtown. And so then there's like a question of safety, really busy, and being able to say, okay, like how could we potentially alleviate any safety concerns of, you know, having that be like the main thoroughfare through the city being like the area that's also supposed to be the most walkable. So, you know, kind of just something to contend with at this time. Sorry, hopefully I'm going at the exact right speed.
You're good.
Okay, so, and then the next step is the future land use map, which is one of the most important parts about this plan. That is really going to play a huge role in being able to implement recommendations moving into the future. So any thoughtfulness that can be provided as we move into the process is super helpful. I was just talking to Tim a little bit. We're gonna meet later on before the end of the year about it. But I just wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit and make sure that you all understand that the future land use map sometimes brings up questions from the community. It's different than a zoning map and it has a different purpose. So I want to make sure that we like move through that thoughtfully. But it does seem like your existing one at least has their land use categories, because sometimes they use zoning categories instead of land use categories, and that creates confusion for the public, but we don't have that issue. So I'm hoping to move forward and kind of successfully start to think about what makes the most sense as far as, you know, where commercial and mixed uses, and then, that's really the main, that's the main talking points I have for today. And I just spoke a whole bunch. I would love to hear any feedback right now if you have any, but also if you want to provide it to me via email after you've had a chance to kind of more thoroughly go through everything, whatever works best for all of you. But yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you. And does anybody have any questions right now for Morgan? Just a reminder to highlight that December 16th deadline for any feedback for her, to either email to her or to Tim.
Yeah, whichever.
Otherwise, thank you, Morgan. There's a lot of info, but it was
Yes.
good.
Sorry, yeah, it's always such an info-heavy process, but yeah, the more feedback things are given, being able to make sure that you're happy with the end product. So anything you have for me, I will accept.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
That's all for now. Okay. Thank you.
Safe travel.
Thank you.
I think Morgan,
Mary, I think Mary has a question.
Oh, yes.
you can tell her
I really
she's catching the group.
Yeah, she's,
Tim, I have a couple questions.
Okay, now I can hear.
yes,
For housing data for one,
Okay,
Okay?
Okay, on the data, he shows 39 mobile home units. Where do we have those?
So that is pulled straight from the ACS, and I will say that, the smaller the community, it can be hard because sometimes there's a larger margin of error on the data, so it might not be exactly 32, but, if you feel like that data is inaccurate, I could talk to Tim about potentially seeing if there's another way that we can do those calculations, but sometimes the ATS is the best we have, so, that kind of is probably why you're feeling like, oh, that's not exactly what I think it is. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Give her a second to catch
yeah,
up.
there's a little bit of a lag with the YouTube, but yeah, and there are some that still, even after that was repealed, exist in the community. They're here and there non-conforming properties.
The second question has to do with the, when she talks about the, safety of downtown. I'm questioning whether there was any discussion with departments of highways, if they're gonna be redoing 91 through town, if any discussions have been made about that?
There were some discussions at the public, or at, was it a public one, Jesse? The DOT, or was that just the elected officials? I think it was at the elected officials meeting. The DOT did go over possible options, and pedestrian safety was one of the big highlights that we did touch on. So there are plans, or at least some highlights that we've discussed, but yes, it has been discussed, Mary. Did you catch any of that?
Did you catch that?
And maybe we lost her. Okay, well, she only had 2 questions, so those were the 2 that,
Okay, well, yeah, please.
so we did, yes, the pedestrian safety one was a huge one at the DOT meeting, so.
Yeah, good,
We have talked, in great length about that and coming up with some solutions, so.
good, yeah, definitely advocate for you all advocating for yourselves with the
Yeah.
DOT, because sometimes
you.
that's what it takes.
Sure.
Okay, great,
All right,
thank you.
thank you.
Yes, I
Okay.
did. This is fun.
Okay, so we'll move on to number 6, which is, right, nobody else had any questions, we can close that one up. Okay, number 6 is the public hearing, the rezone request for Johnson Street parcel number 206-00833-0100, legal description, Lefferts, additional lots 1, 2, 22, and 23, block 143. I will open the public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak for the rezone request? Does anybody wish to speak for? Anybody wish to speak for? Anybody wish to speak against? Anybody wish to speak against the request? Anybody wishing to speak against? Is there anybody here that would like to make a comment? If not, I will close the public hearing. Tim, the recommendation is to recommend to common council to approve the rezone request for the Johnson Street M2 manufacturing district to R2 residential district. Parcel 206-00833-0100.
Yeah,
We've
so,
already talked about this, obviously. Does anybody have any questions for Tim, or Tim, do you have anything else to add?
yeah, I can just, again, hoping to not be redundant here, but this is one that, where the future land use map, all the policy documents, the plan, everything is very favorable towards what they're proposing here. It's infill development that's already served by utilities. They're in discussions with Brian, with the water sewer, to arrange how that can work, and it should be a good sort of place to fill in what's a bit of a missing tooth of the neighborhood, in the neighborhood there.
I'll make a motion to, send to common council to approve the rezoning request for the Johnson Street from M2 to R2.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. On to number 8, which is minor subdivision CSM request for Johnson Street properties. Johnson Street, recommendation, authorize the staff to endorse the approval of the proposed minor subdivision CSM of 206-00833-0100 as presented. Did we have Carol's vote on that last one? Or never mind, she didn't vote, never mind. I drew a vote. Did you hear her say aye? I
Mary,
just want to make sure that she was.
all right, good. Thank you.
This will be a fun night. Okay, go ahead, Tim.
Okay, so this is actually, and not coincidentally, it's the same property, and this is, not to be overly redundant here, but the factors that made it eligible for rezoning also apply to it being subdivided this way. And these are, I believe, standard lots that they'd be creating and are able to be served by utilities and developed.
Anybody have any questions for Tim?
Yes, I did say aye.
Thank you.
I guess I just had a quick question. Did you get a copy of the survey map for the proposed?
Yep.
Yep, we have it all on there, yep.
This might actually take another day though, because I just saw at the bottom that there's from the city treasurer who needs to look at something, so I can sign what I can sign, but, yeah. I'll get that over downstairs.
I'll make a motion to authorize staff to endorse the approval of the proposed minor subdivision as presented.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, was she an aye?
I'm gonna guess so.
I'm assuming she's an
Are
aye.
you gonna aye? Or the supervisor, him now? It's too bad my microphone doesn't. I think that's what she said was before, actually.
Motion approved.
Aye.
There you go.
Can we not do this again? Number 9, on to number 9, discussion and recommendation of preliminary discussion of River Street discontinuance vacation pursuant to Wisconsin statute 66.1003. Recommendation is discuss street vacation process and motion to recommend that the common council initiate the process for vacation of the highlighted portion of River Street under Wisconsin statute 66.1003 by drafting and introducing a preliminary resolution to commence the statutory process for discontinuance of the described right-of-way.
All right, I'll try to cover how this would go in practice, unless, should I?
No, go for it.
Talk about this first?
Do what? Oh, yeah, Dan, do you want to speak?
Dan Hoppa, 235 South Wisconsin Street, Berlin. So I own the property on the corner of Wisconsin Street and River Street in question. And I previously provided a bunch of maps. Do you all have access to those?
Yep.
Okay. So there's portions of Wisconsin Street and River Street that have been vacated in the past. But there's a portion of River Street that is actually just not being utilized as a street, and it's listed as unimproved. And for deciding what the potential future improvements are, it'd be nice to know if that street was abandoned or you were gonna make improvements, make a street and put in water, sewer, and so forth. I think economically and feasibly, it would make sense to abandon it. And that's, I guess, what my thoughts were in regards to that.
you.
See the only one,
And what?
see the only one that,
Yeah, you guys should also have a packet, from American Industrial Sales. Um, Basically an objection, to this proposal. It also was not, I just want to clarify, it was not a hearing. Correct?
yeah, this is just the preliminary discussion, but I did mail out to, the adjoining, property owners just to, make sure they were aware that this was our preliminary discussion. And I probably detailed the process, including that there'd be hearings and meetings on this. This is not by any means where we're making a final decision.
Right. So really, we're just looking to send this to common council for discussion and to initiate the process, and then it would come back to us. And that's when the hearing
I believe that
would be scheduled.
yeah, I believe we have more of a discussion that, once they even give that sort of clearance to
Right.
bring forth, probably prematurely put in this packet, but wanted to give people the opportunity to review and try to understand the process, because it's taken me probably the better part of the last year when we first had a different proposal of this type of sort for a different street to get a decent enough handle on this process. It's,
I think we also have some more research to do,
yeah.
especially based on some of the stuff that came forward or some of the questions that AIS has brought forward. I think,
I think it'd be too soon to send it.
This is-
anything.
yeah, no, I don't think that anything's ready to be sent to common council at this point, so. Tim, if you want to do, at least have some answers to some of these questions, I don't know if anybody else, Paul, are you okay with that? I don't think that there's any decision we can make right now.
Yeah, well, they stated here that they demand a phase one. I mean, that needs to be discussed too, because I've done a lot of EPA work and that's not easy to do, so.
So I think that we, Tim, maybe you can do a little bit more homework on this one before this one, comes back to us.
Okay.
Does that sound fair, everybody?
Yeah.
I don't think we're anywhere near ready to make any kind of decision.
Oh, you're not, especially with just receiving
No,
this today,
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, and I think that having the commission have some time to review, like I say, I gave you way too much information to digest in probably the amount of time you've been given thus far, so, that, I'd say, will allow us to get this process rolling
Sure.
when we get to go through all the due diligence.
So right now, there's no discussion or any more discussion, I would say, until we have some more information. All right. Moving on to number 10 then is discussion of ordinance amendment, text amendment of language for section 2-509 quorum. The recommendation is to schedule a public hearing to discuss the amendment for 2-509 on the special meeting date of January 6th, 2026. And this is basically just to go over, dropping it from half the total, the allowed number.
So
I can't even say it properly.
our current ordinance, as you can see in here, I did the tracking changes so you can see what the old is versus the new. I mean, the language will be open to if the city attorney has a recommendation for a different way to put this, but essentially just making this uniform with the rest of our boards and commissions that are, at least as far as I know, generally the half plus one. And when I looked at other plan commissions throughout the state, even their handbook suggests that that's the best sort of practice for you to adopt in your ordinance. So we're just,
And does our ordinance, I don't know, Jesse, we ever looked at this, does our ordinance state half plus one of the total number of seats, or the vacant seats, or?
So a quorum is half plus one of total seats, whether or not
They're-
they're filled or not.
Okay,
However, your plan commission is even more demanding.
right,
correct him, I mean,
Yeah.
we have,
Yeah, as it
7
currently
seats.
stands, yeah.
and you require 5
Okay.
to hold the meeting. So normally you would need 4. So he's bringing forward to an amendment to be in more conformity with most communities, not that you have to be, but that would allow you to have 4 of your members constitute a quorum rather than having to have 5 for plan commission.
I think it also makes sense to have it cohesive with the rest of the committees.
Agreed. And a selfish plug that if you have a desire to be on the plan commission, please reach out to our mayor.
Like if you had a couple people that wanted to come forward.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. So do we need? A motion to do to schedule the hearing.
I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing to discuss the amendment for 2-509 on a special meeting date of January 6, 2006. Or 2026, holy smokes.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
And you,
Any opposed?
okay, I'm gonna,
I would assume she's not gonna oppose this one.
are you there, Mary?
Maybe she was. Oh, she didn't say yes. That was passed, okay. Moving on. Number 11, which is the preliminary discussion of a zoning code update.
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Text amendment of language for section 82-716C application. Recommendation is to schedule a public hearing to discuss the amendment for exclusively 82-716C on the special meeting date of January 6th.
So I did 2 things here, you'll probably notice that, but first and foremost, the one that I actually only for recommendation for is just to change the fee, that's in the ordinance to, uniform with the rest of our fees that just say, look at the fee schedule for this. This will allow the city, I mean, it just makes it much easier for staff to update it consistently with the rest of the other fees. And there are other reasons that I talked with building inspector at length about that, again, that it just helps to make it uniform with what other communities do in that way. So that's the first thing. Second, also was just looking at this section for possibly, at some point in the future, but not necessarily, not at all immediately, looking into solar being incorporated, because there are some communities that have done that with the wind systems, but.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing to discuss the amendment for exclusively 82-716C on special meeting date of January 6, 2026.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll get Mary's in a few seconds. Preliminary discussion of a zoning code update. Discussion of amendment of section 82-363 and the area regulations for historic downtown business properties.
Okay, so, I had some people who are still present here that brought forth, and this was something that's been an issue for a while, because it was actually in our old 2003 comprehensive plan for recommendation to look at the setbacks in downtown. So now we are looking at the setbacks in downtown. It's known, I'd say, especially for people who have properties in downtown, that there are many non-conforming properties in that business district. So creating the policy to have 0 line setback for the side and rear is not only consistent with, I have 4 examples here, but there are more. It seems, again, to be fairly much what would, I'd say, be just a good way to make it so that if people wanted to develop or do anything with their lots, subdividing or combining it will make the process somewhat streamlined in a way that a lot of people would in other communities. Any questions?
You don't see any, issues with this, Tim?
No, this, I mean, we already actually have sort of a version of this covered in our special exceptions, but this would just make more things that are currently special exceptions that have a more lengthy process, I'd say, yeah, expedited, which, and I mean, it would allow the special exceptions to be reserved for more unusual cases, which would be, I still say if they're, have a certain amount of lineal space against a residential district, or if they're, which would essentially mean that anything that's in downtown would be able to develop and not have concern if there is a casualty event or something with a property.
Okay, so do you need any action on this one right now?
Oh, sorry, this, I should have had the same as the last two and have this going for a hearing at the January 6th date as well.
So this one would also be a hearing.
I'll make a motion, to schedule a public hearing to discuss the amendment of section 82-363, area regulations for historic downtown business opportunities at the January 6th, 2026 meeting.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Number 13, old business. Does anybody have any old business they wish to discuss? Any new business? We used to request items of new business to be put on a future agenda. Number 15, the next meeting date is January 6th, 2026. I'll take, number 16.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned at 6:44 PM.
Thank you, everybody. All right, thank you.